This video is sponsored by ProtonPass for Business. Chat Control, a plan in Brussels that could give the EU so much power that they can scan every message you send, whether on WhatsApp, Signal, email, you name it. They say it's to protect children, but critics warn it's the biggest mass surveillance scheme Europe has ever seen. Who is right though? Well, in this video we'll uncover what Chat Control actually is, and how it came to life, then the arguments for it and against it, and finally my own take on whether this should ever become law. So, what exactly is Chat Control? Its real name is a bit less catchy: the Regulation to Prevent and Combat Child Sexual Abuse. The idea was put forward in May 2022 by the European Commission, the EU's executive branch, by Commissioner Ylva Johansson from Sweden. She said the aim was simple: to stop the spread of child sexual abuse material online. Her Chat Control proposal would make tech companies scan every text message, picture, video, and file people send, even on apps that are supposed to be private and encrypted. This covers interpersonal communication services like Gmail or WhatsApp, which allow people to send private messages online. Hosting services are also affected. That means anything that stores content for users, from private cloud storage like Dropbox to public social networks like Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok. And small non-commercial forums like Discord or hobby communities would also be affected. And if the system's algorithm thinks something is illegal, it would flag it and forward it to a new EU center, which would then pass it on to the police in the relevant country for investigation. And this is where the controversy really explodes. Because to work, Chat Control would not just scan the messages of people already suspected of crimes, it would scan just about everyone's messages, all the time. That, critics say, is mass surveillance on a scale Europe has never seen before. Every message, photo, and file is scanned automatically. No suspicion required, no exceptions, even encrypted chats. To make that possible, you would have to weaken or break end-to-end encryption completely. And the problem is, once you do that, you are not just letting the police see inside these messages. You're creating doorways that hackers, criminals, and even hostile governments could exploit. That's why protecting encryption isn't just about personal privacy. It's about keeping entire businesses secure. And that's exactly why I'm glad to partner with today's sponsor, Proton. Proton builds privacy-first tools designed to keep your communications and data safe. And for businesses, they offer ProtonPass for Business, an encrypted password manager built with security at its core. Think about how your company handles passwords right now. Passwords scattered across spreadsheets, sticky notes, or Slack messages are a security disaster waiting to happen. ProtonPass for Business fixes this by giving your entire team one secure place to store, manage, and share credentials, all protected with end-to-end encryption. For teams, it's not just secure, it's practical. Admins can enforce strong password policies and spot risky habits like weak or reused credentials, and even set temporary or permanent access and revoke it instantly. And Proton goes beyond passwords. Your email, calendar, files, and even your internet connection can all be protected in an encrypted privacy-first ecosystem. And yes, Proton is European. So for everyone who's pointed out in the past that my videos often feature US-based sponsors, here's a truly excellent European alternative that puts privacy first. I love that, and I can highly recommend it. So, get ProtonPass for Business today with 35% off. Just go to proton.me/EUMS. Back to the video. The next problem with Chat Control is the question of fundamental rights. Articles 7 and 8 of the EU's own charter guarantee privacy and data protection. Critics warn that Chat Control risks undermining both, which would chip away at one of Europe's most democratic values. Even if you set those principles aside, there is still risk of false positives. These automated scanners do not have common sense. They can mistake an innocent holiday photo or a private joke for something illegal that can put completely innocent people under suspicion and waste police resources. And perhaps, most ironically, some child protection experts, including voices at the United Nations, say blanket scanning could actually be less effective at protecting children. They argue it weakens security for everyone and diverts time and money away from prevention methods that are actually proven to work. On top of all of that, there's also global precedent. If the EU starts scanning every private message, authoritarian governments will point to Europe and say, they are doing it, so can we. And that could normalize mass surveillance far beyond Europe's borders. And what I find especially alarming is that military, government, and law enforcement accounts would be exempt from the scanning rules. That creates a clear sense of double standards, one rule for the citizens and another for those in power. But of course, that's only one side of the story. Supporters of chat control say it's one of the only real ways to catch criminals who hide behind encryption. Without scanning, investigators simply cannot see the material being shared, and that means abuse can go undetected for years. And for victims of abuse, speed counts. They also argue that tech companies already scan for illegal content, like terrorism or copyright violations. So doing the same for child abuse material should not be treated as unusual. Although, it should be pointed out that this only happens for non-encrypted services like Gmail or Dropbox, not on encrypted apps like WhatsApp, Signal, or our sponsor today, Proton. But nothing has been decided just yet. The Commission first introduced this idea in May 2022, but that is only the very first step. For something to become EU law, two other big institutions also have to agree. The European Parliament, where members debate and vote on these types of legislation, and the Council of the EU, which is made up of ministers from all EU countries. And in November 2023, the MEPs in the European Parliament pushed back hard. They voted to remove blanket scanning and instead called for targeted detection only, with strong protections for encrypted messages. Then it was the Council's turn. By June 2024, national governments still could not agree. Some countries supported the idea, but others, especially those worried about privacy, opposed it. And with no consensus, the talks stalled. It could have ended there, but in July 2025, Denmark took over the rotating Council presidency. That means, for 6 months, they get to decide what the ministers talk about first. And Denmark wasted no time. They put chat control right back at the top of the list. The revised chat control proposal tries to sound more acceptable by sorting services into low, medium, and high risk, with only the high-risk ones facing scanning. And at first, scanning would only cover visual content, photos, videos, and links. No scanning of text messages or voice notes. At least for now. If the law reaps benefits, it could then be expanded later. And Denmark are pushing hard, saying they want it agreed by October 2025. But still, there's significant resistance. Right now in the Council of the EU, 3 EU countries are actively opposing the law, 15 are actively supporting it, and 9 are still undecided. In the Council, laws need what is called a qualified majority to pass. That means 2 things. At least 55% of the EU countries have to vote yes, and together they have to represent at least 65% of the EU's total population. This makes the 9 undecided countries crucial. They hold the power to swing the outcome in either direction. On October the 14th, the debate will resume, with Denmark leading the push to win over those still holding back. And the final barrier is the European Parliament. There the rules are simpler. A proposal only needs a simple majority, more than half the members of the parliament voting in favor. And this is where you can make a difference. If you're against chat control, you can take action by contacting your MEPs or government ministers and urging them to oppose it. Here is what I think. I think it is clear to people watching this channel that we are pro-EU and see it as a force for good, both for Europe and the world. But in my opinion, this law is not good. The drawbacks are simply too big. And for me, 2 stand out above all: mass surveillance and breaking encryption. Yes, right now this might only be used to scan for illegal images. But once the system is in place, what stops the next step? First child abuse material, then terrorism, then maybe hate speech, political extremism, or even protests the government does not like. Step by step, the scope could quietly expand. And then, to make things worse, military, government, and law enforcement accounts would be excluded from the scanning. That is crazy. One rule for the citizens and another one for those in power. This is exactly the kind of double standards that makes people lose trust in the state. Our governments really need to stop that nonsense. I love that our data is protected in Europe, and I will continue to support initiatives against chat control and sponsors like Proton Pass for Business. Proton is one of the strongest voices lobbying against chat control. Even the CEO is doing what he can to stop it. They build privacy-first tools I use every day, and for businesses this means stronger security to protect sensitive data and credentials. So, get Proton Pass for Business today with 35% off. Just go to proton.me/EUMS. And to support us further, consider joining us on Patreon and vote on video ideas every week. Thank you so much to our presidents, Jan Schauke, Christian Peter, HEVD, Daniel Unite Europe, Stefan, and Rashid. See you in the next video.